I'm coming from CEDEFOP, so it was easy for me to take this role to report. That's what I thought in the very beginning. Then I realized, looking at it, that it's not that easy. The group had very different ideas, many of them challenging to report, sometimes in French, which I had to remember it. But I will try. Can we start from the second part of the exercise, because it's already on the board?
Of course.
So, as you can see, we went through the round of consultations with each individual person in the group who put 1, 2, or even 3 stickers to the element that he or she liked and explained why. I'm not going to repeat all of this. I'm going to grasp maybe the largest groups which attracted the most attention of us. And I'm going to start with this corner, which is educational content and services, and then ready-to-use resources, which are sort of part or the continuation of the first one. And then, again, continuation of the second one, which is resources that can be modified in a dedicated platform. So if I understood correctly, we take it as one part, as one block, which one derives from another. And there were cons and pros on using, let's say, resources that can be modified. I mean, this gives a flexibility, but this also requires certain knowledge. This also requires certain time, and that's why somebody has said, look, we want more ready-made resources because teachers don't have enough time to deal with it and to change the resources. Now, there was also a question, speaking about the pros and cons, how open are these resources? How much can I change? The copyright issues, personal data issues, and so on and so on. Correct me if I'm going in the wrong direction. That's fine. Now, when we have the resources, or we think we have the resources, we need somebody to use those resources. And the first instance, the first stop shop is, of course, a teacher. Correct? So we thought that teachers need definitely support. Somebody said it's a separate point that has not been mentioned on the board. So we have teachers support. They're mentioning some kind of a models, concern-based approach, adoption model, yes. So again, teachers learning and support on the use of digital resources, support for teachers, services, support for teachers, pedagogical scenarios, community, MOOCs, using MOOCs in order to learn new things. But then many people said, look, it's already here in a way that you can, let me read it. Teachers' resources are already here. So, for example, peer-to-peer learning could be part of the learning process, how to use digital resources. Now, we also said to a certain degree that monitoring and evaluation is a very important part of it, which we didn't find on the table. Electronic assessment, e-assessment, thematic assessment. We had formative assessment, sorry. We had colleagues explaining that geographic information systems are important, especially for robotics in the future, more in the long term. But I think the majority of us said, look, this part, which is the most covered one, called serious games, virtual reality, and animations. If we count the number of papers around it, I think it got the first place or close to that. So somebody said, I don't like serious games, but they give the necessary effect, the wow effect, they attract attention, and they can explain very challenging things in a more simple way, and this is what we liked about it. Did I miss anything? Colleagues, would you like to add anything? Good. Shall I continue with the part 1, or should we go the round on the part 2 first? Well, let me put it here. Okay, this will be simpler. Now, although we've seen that there are attempts to adjust electronic materials, e-materials, to the target group, for example, special education needs learners. And we saw examples of it. We thought, in some cases, this is missing part of the puzzle. Not for this project. I think we've seen quite a lot in this project, but in general, there's a need for more. Teachers' freedom, empowerment types of pedagogies. We saw it in the e-materials project. Somebody said that there is a lot of a diversity. I believe it was a Lithuanian colleague that said there was a lot of a diversity in the available materials, and sometimes people get lost in that. If I got your idea correctly, so there would be a need to coordinate and to use the right search engines to what we need to find. Examples of scenarios, pedagogical approaches, teacher training, per learning community were other examples, and of course MOOCs are always there. If I missed something, please compliment me if I haven't. Ah, sorry. Yes, good point. And this was mentioned by our colleague, saying that by using electronic resources, by using all these e-materials, there is a risk of losing the handwriting, the fine motor skills, and stable visual text. So this was mentioned as a risk, but there was a discussion on how you can handwrite on the laptops or on the tablets, even so this could be solved in a way. Thank you.
Thank you very much.